Welcome to Nice and Blunt. My name is Adam Riancho, and we're less than 3 weeks away from the NFL season kicking off. So it's time to update some rankings. We're going to start at the running back position today, and I'll update my top 40. I've gone that deep already, but I'm also going to give you all 72 of my running back rankings. I'm just going to let you know where I stand on all of these handcuffs and players that at least you should know where I stand, I think, before your draft. Some of you are in very deep leagues. Might as well give you the full package. So here we go. Let's start at the top where I still have Christian McCaffrey, Breece Hall, and Bijan at 1, 2, and 3. I feel more confident in my Breece over Bijan take with recent reports that the coaching staff will be using Tyler Allgeier in this offense. It's not all going to Bijan. So that's where I stand. I'm staying put on all three of them. And at number 4, I have changed tune. I have Jonathan Taylor one spot up, now above Zamir Gibbs, because of Gibbs' recent hamstring injury. It's not that I'm worried about it, but I think they might limit his touches just slightly, especially on the goal line perhaps, when they have Montgomery early in the season to keep Gibbs on the field. He's very talented. They don't want him to go down. He's a big, important piece of that offense. But I told you a month ago I view these two players equally. I still have them back to back. I would just rather take the safety net of Taylor straight up. Gibbs still has that elite upside though, especially if Montgomery goes down. At 6, I still have Kyren Williams, staying put on him. Number 7, I still have Saquon Barkley. These guys are all in the same tier 2. But in tier 3, I still prefer Isaiah Pacheco at number 8. I just love his upside in that Chiefs offense. He will be rolling this season. At number 9, though, is where I make a change. I'm more confident in Achane because that Miami Dolphins offense is just so elite, especially on the ground. You're going to get so much volume, and he appears to be bulked up. The coaching staff has really hyped him up this offseason, and he is going to get a lot more work out of the slot in the passing game. So I'm more confident. I think if he does work out, he could finish top 5. Achane has that truly elite upside. We saw Mostert as the number 2 running back last year. Achane could do it this season. So he's now number 9, moving up 2 spots, but I'm moving up Josh Jacobs 3 spots, a full tier higher than I previously had. I think Jacobs is very safe, especially with the injury to Marshawn Lloyd. I have no concerns about A.J. Dillon. Jacobs could be a top 5 running back this year. He did it just 2 years ago, and he still is only 26 years old. So I love that Packers offense. Jacobs is very safe. I think he's a better bet at this moment in time than he was a month ago. So he's moved up 3 spots, now number 10, and that's why Etienne and Derrick Henry move down 2 spots respectively. They both get jumped by Achane and Jacobs. I'm not down on these 2 players. I'm just more confident in Achane and Jacobs. So Etienne, Derrick Henry, 11 and 12, also in the same tier as Isaiah Pacheco. You could put any of these 5 guys as high as number 8. Number 13, though, moving down 1 spot, he gets jumped by Jacobs. Starting off this tier is still James Cook, who has a lot of upside in that Bills offense. Probably going to see more goal line work as well, with over 20 touchdowns available in that offense. He's very safe. I still think Cook is a good option, just more of an RB2 than an RB1. Moving up 1 spot, though, I have Kenneth Walker now at number 14, and the coaching staff have been hyping him up. They love him, apparently, and they will be using him more in the passing game. They see him as a potential 3-down player. I understand. He's very, very skilled. He's really good, and it looks like Charbonnet is a little bit less of a concern. So I have him now above Rachaad White. I think Walker is a very safe bet to be a top 15 player. If Charbonnet is completely out of the equation, if he gets hurt, then Walker has the same upside as Jonathan Taylor. He could average over 16 fantasy points per game. That's what we saw him do in his rookie season when he was the workhorse 2 years ago. Number 15, though, getting jumped by Walker is still Rachaad White. He was not efficient last year. That might be going up, though, because Graham Barton, the new offensive lineman, looks really good in the preseason. That will help Rachaad's efficiency. But without Dave Canales, the offense probably isn't as good collectively, and they probably lean a little bit more on Chris Godwin and new acquisition Jalen McMillan. So Rachaad with Bucky Irving in the mix might catch a few less passes. He's a safe bet, just not my favorite. I prefer Kenneth Walker at the moment. Joe Mixon, though, stays put at number 16. I'm still feeling very safe with his floor. He could be definitely a guy that finishes higher, but he's a little bit older, and the touchdowns probably come down. Same with the targets, moving from Cincinnati to Houston with more competition in the passing game. Number 17, though, I'm bumping up Dave Montgomery one spot, but also into this new tier. I think Montgomery has some higher safety with Gibbs' hamstring injury, and also that elite ceiling if Gibbs were to ever miss time. Montgomery could be a top 6 running back in fantasy. So I prefer him over Alvin Kamara as of now, and I think he's a very good bet. That Lions offense is going to score way more points than the Saints offense, and Montgomery's still going to be a big focal point on the goal line. I think he scores double-digit touchdowns next season. So really safe player, but he does jump Alvin Kamara, who I still think is fine as a mid RB2. If it wasn't the Saints offense, I'd probably have him ranked higher. He could catch the most receptions of any running back in the NFL. I'd bump him up significantly if it was a full PPR league. However, he did get hurt already. I think he'll be okay, but at 29 years old, it is a concern. And his offensive line is absolute shit. That is why I think he's just a floor play at the end of the equation based on volume. He'll be top 20. I just think without a touchdown, you're never going to get a top 10 game out of Kamara if it's not a full PPR league. Number 19, though, in the next tier, I have James Conner, who's a very high upside pick. I bumped him up 3 spots in my overall rankings, and there's some recent concerns with Trey Benson. He didn't look great in the preseason, and Benson is now competing with a guy like Michael Carter for backup duties. So Conner is their clear RB1. He has never played a full season. I'm a little worried about his injury risk, but in terms of upside, he could be top 12. I wouldn't be shocked if he averaged 15 fantasy points per game, if healthy, with Kyler Murray, and Benson is a non-factor completely. So in the final year of his contract, despite the age, I still think Conner is a safe top 20 running back. I would draft him at his 7th round ADP. Number 20, I bumped up 4 spots. I got Najee Harris of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm a little bit worried about this offense, not gonna lie. They looked terrible this weekend with Russell Wilson at quarterback and didn't look that much better with Justin Fields. I think they will be pivoting to Fields, but their offensive line has improved, and Arthur Smith relies on the running back so much. I think Najee is locked in for 18 touches per game. A high floor is what you can expect. And with Warren hurt, especially early on in the season, he will be more involved on the goal line. So Najee, I think, is a safe bet at RB20. I am comfortable drafting him where I can. And number 21, though, moving up 2 spots, is a player I want to rank higher, honestly, but at age 32, I just can't. But I'm still a little more excited about a Dolphins running back, no matter what, than some of these other players I'll mention behind him. So he moves up 2 spots in the rankings, and I think betting on the Dolphins is always a good bet, and especially in the run game, there's going to be a lot of touchdowns and overall touches available. So Mostert, still a factor. They gave him a contract extension for a reason, and he's now my RB21, 2 spots higher than a month ago. Number 22, though, moving down 2 spots, is Rhamondre Stevenson. How much do you really want to bet on the Patriots offense? I'd rather not. He's locked into a high volume of work, but it's still not going to lead to a lot of touchdowns. I see the upside as capped for Rhamondre. And Aaron Jones, I've bumped down 2 spots as well. He gets jumped by a few other guys because that offense doesn't have the highest of ceiling anymore. If JJ McCarthy's not going to step on the field, it's a little bit capped with Sam Darnold. Let's be honest about it. And Aaron Jones also is a pretty safe bet to miss time himself. Last season, he only played 8 full games, and he was barely seeing more than 60% of snaps when he actually was healthy. So it could be a big timeshare with him and Ty Chandler. He might see more targets with TJ Hawkinson's injury and Jordan Addison's suspension, but still, he's older, and I'm worried he gets hurt. Him and Mostert kind of concern me as risks to go down. Connor is there too, but I think Connor actually is a safer bet on a weekly basis in his offense. Moving forward, though, we enter a new tier, and these are my high-end flex plays, more so in the floor department. Low-end RB2 still qualifies, I guess, technically, but, you know, I don't think you're really excited. You're really hoping for a touchdown when you start these players. I got Swift moving up one spot because I'm more excited about that Caleb Williams Bears offense. Swift has some high upside, and he won't get vultured on the goal line 15 times like he was in Philadelphia. So he's my favorite of this tier at number 24. He moves up one spot. And also moving up one spot is Zamir White, who I still view identically. There's a guy moving down. That's why he moves up. But Zamir, I don't think will catch many passes, and I still think Madison and Laube will be a bit of a thorn in his side. I don't see the same workhorse role we saw for Zamir in the final month of the year last season when Josh Jacobs got hurt. So he'll probably be less efficient and not a lot of touchdown upside in the Raiders offense. At 25, he's fine, but not my favorite overall. I'm not like dying to draft him. But number 26, I want to rank higher. I kind of want to put him in the same tier as Aaron Jones, but I was definitely too low at number 30 earlier on in the offseason. And even despite this recent hamstring injury, I still have Jaylen Warren moving up the board now at 26. He moves up 4 spots, but it could be more if the hamstring injury is a non-factor, but it's definitely a little concerning. He could miss some time early in the year. I think when he does get on the field, though, he's going to see so many targets, have a ton of upside. They're going to use the running back position a ton this year. Last year, Bijan had over 80 targets in Atlanta with Arthur Smith. I think that could happen for Warren this year because I don't think they're getting Ayuk. I think Warren is their third highest targeted player behind Pickens, behind Freiermuth. Who the fuck else do they have to throw the ball to? So Warren is explosive, has some upside. I think he'll be a interesting boom bust spike week option in fantasy this year. At number 27, though, I have Jonathan Brooks, who moves up 2 spots. I'm more confident in him because I was worried he would miss like 8 to 10 games. They have a week 11 bye in Carolina. It is reportedly the case that he's only going to miss like 5 or 6 weeks max. So that's why he moves up 2 spots. I do think you're kind of taking a risk by drafting him, though, because he's going to be just sitting on your bench or IR for a solid month and a half. And then even then, I think he's in a bit of a timeshare with Chuba until that bye. And there's always the chance that he gets injured again and you never get any actual solid fantasy production out of him. So he's a little bit risky in my opinion, but the upside is elite. He could be top 15, probably top 20 once he's fully healthy and sees the lion's share of touches in the Panthers offense. I like his talent long term. He's more of a dynasty play, but this year I think he's a little bit safer knowing he probably only misses 5 or 6 games at the most. Number 28 though, I'm still on the Jerome Ford hype train. I've kept him here at number 28 and I definitely think he will have a consistent role through their week 10 bye. After that, we'll see what Nick Chubb can do, but I still think Ford will be at worst in a 50-50 committee with Chubb the rest of the season. So I like him a lot. I think he's a steal in drafts still. I love his ADP, and he is my second most drafted player this offseason on Underdog. I love Jerome Ford, a potential league winner at the position. Number 29, though, is a player I've dropped the most in my rankings. It's Zach Moss, moving down 10 spots overall. There are some legitimate committee concerns now that I previously was not that worried about, but Chase Brown has been getting a lot more reps in practice and training camp, and I do have them back to back. I have Moss moving down 10 spots. I previously had him at a top 20 running back. Now Chase Brown is right behind him, who I previously had not inside my top 40. So I'm hoping I'm not terribly wrong about Zach Moss because I have drafted him quite a bit, but I still think he's the better option of the two because of his goal line role I still envision him having. He's the bigger player. He's more of a veteran that knows what he's doing. Despite a lot more touches in the preseason, Chase Brown has put up some weird tape so far. There are some plays where he doesn't really quite see the hole and he doesn't really know like what he's doing that well. So I still think Moss is the more valuable guy, but I see the two almost equally as valuable now. I mean, back to back, that's exactly what would be the case. So it is concerning. I've drafted a lot of Moss, but I still am a believer that he could be the guy you want. This offense is going to score a lot of points, and on the goal line, he has the larger frame, more experience. I think they're still going to trust him. They paid him a decent contract, but it's probably more of a committee than I previously expected. So Moss moves down the ranks. I'm a little bit worried about it. I'm starting to hit the panic button just a little bit. I'm more confident in Chase Brown at the moment. I now have them back to back 29 and 30. Let's see what happens in week 1 and hope that Moss still is viable. But number 31, I've dropped down 4 spots in the ranks because Austin Ekeler looks a little bit more involved than I expected. I got Brian Robinson here at number 31, and he's still solid. I have him in the same tier as DeAndre Swift. There's going to be some high upside when he does score a touchdown, but when he doesn't, you're going to be kind of disappointed. Just a floor play. He probably doesn't catch a ton of passes with Ekeler there, and Jaden Daniels can also vulture touchdowns himself. So Brian Robinson outside my top 30 now. He's fine. I'm still targeting him a little bit in the rankings, but I still think I prefer Jerome Ford straight up over B-Rob. I was not saying that a month ago. Number 32, though, is a player that moves up 10 spots in my rankings, and I've completely flipped my position on Rico Dowdle and Ezekiel Elliott. I previously had Zeke here at 32, but Dowdle is the last guy in this tier. I think Dowdle has some potential league-winning upside if he really does pop this year in Dallas. He's by far the younger player, has nowhere near as much tread off the tires as Zeke does, and he's probably going to catch a lot more passes than Zeke if I had to make that bet. So Rico, I think, is the guy you want in this Cowboys backfield. There is some upside, but overall, Mike McCarthy doesn't use the running back position like crazy, and that's why his upside's a bit capped, but there's a world he's a top 25 running back next season. Dowdle is a good value, still going in the 11th round on Underdog. But now we move on to the next tier where I'm a little concerned about all of these investments. Honestly, there's a world where none of them work out, but I still think there is some talent here overall. But at 33, moving down 2 spots in my ranks, I got Gus Edwards of the Chargers, and I see a bit more of a committee with J.K. Dobbins looming, and Gus Edwards is not also the safest guy to stay healthy himself. He's also a bit older at 29 years old. How good could he possibly be? But it's all about that goal line role. How many touchdowns does he score? I think they pay him enough to keep using him, and I still think he's the guy you want the most from a safety standpoint in the Chargers backfield. They have a good offensive line. There's a world this really works out, and he's way too low in the rankings, even here at 33. But I'm a little more confident in J.K. Dobbins. We'll get to him in a minute. Behind Gus Edwards, I got both Titans running backs still back-to-back with Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears. I think they just eat into each other's volume too much to really feel great about either of them. I don't want to bet on the Titans offense either behind a terrible offensive line. You're hoping for a lot of work in the passing game, and both players caught over 50 receptions last year. That could be like 35 apiece this season, and you're not that excited about it at the end of the day. So very touchdown dependent, not excited, and I'd rather just avoid the Titans offense entirely than make a bet on either guy. No thanks with Pollard or Spears. Also, I still don't think I want Javonte Williams, but he has looked a little bit better in the preseason than I thought. I still think he's the RB1 in Denver, but I see too many mouths to feed for it to be really like a safe bet every week. And I think he's really touchdown dependent. That's what makes me worried. I'd rather bet against it. I think Estime and Jaleel McLaughlin will be a very annoying factor in this backfield. So he stays put at RB36, but he actually goes 1 spot above Devin Singletary, who now is number 37 in my ranks. I just don't want a Giant at all. no thank you. And Tyrone Tracy looks like he is getting some hype. I think he will be a factor as the season goes on. I don't want to invest in the New York Giants whatsoever. So at 37, I'm avoiding Singletary like the plague. At number 38, though, I am very excited about J.K. Dobbins this season. If he's able to stay healthy, I think he'll far surpass this ranking. He could definitely be more valuable than Gus Edwards straight up. So if you're only drafting one, I say go for J.K. Dobbins. There's a world where he is a league winner of the 4, maybe 5 Chargers running backs, but that injury risk is always in the back of your mind. That's why I can't rank him any higher than 38, but I kind of want to. I kind of want to put him above the Gus bus straight up. We'll see what happens. I've been drafting Dobbins a lot. As of late, he has been flying up the board, now going in the 12th round pretty consistently. But at 39, moving up one spot, I'm a little more confident in Austin Ekeler. I still think he's kind of washed. I don't think he has like the highest upside, and he's definitely still behind Brian Robinson, but he is going to see a role. I think he will score a decent amount of touchdowns, maybe like 4 or 5 next season, and that's going to be an annoying factor for B-Rob in that offense. But I still think it's just contingent value here with Ekeler. I don't think you're going to be that excited to have him in your weekly lineup for the most part, but he does have a role. I do think he's a top 40 running back at the end of the equation. Number 40, though, moving down 8 spots, is Ezekiel Elliott, who I'm not as confident in as I was a month ago. I do think you prefer Dowdle by far. Dowdle's just much younger and has the upside. I think Zeke is purely valuable as long as he has the goal line role, and even that is probably not going to be like that consistent. I worry that Zeke looks completely washed this season. He's had a ton of volume throughout his career, and 2,400 touches adds up. I don't think he's going to look that good unless Dowdle gets hurt, and even then, it's the Mike McCarthy system. Running back is rarely like a huge value in that type of offense. So not excited about Zeke. He moves down 8 spots now to RB40. I previously had him at 32. That's it for that tier, and now we're in the true handcuff tier. There is purely contingent upside moving forward, but some of these guys do have a little bit of weekly value given their situation. At 41, though, I have Blake Corum, who I think is the most valuable handcuff in the NFL. If Kyren Williams goes down, Corum would be a top 10 running back instantly. So he's probably the best high upside swing of anyone, but you're not going to get a lot of value on a week-to-week basis when Kyren is healthy. Chuba Hubbard comes in at 42, who will be the starter for the first 5 weeks. I do see flex value guaranteed for Chuba. If you draft Jonathan Brooks, I think that's a decent bet to make. If you're not getting Jerome Ford, he's probably the safest guy to bet on to have value filling in for Brooks in September. So Chuba, because you know for a fact he's getting the ball, is at 42, but once we hit week 7, once Brooks is back, I think Chuba probably falls down a cliff and probably doesn't even crack the top 50 in my rankings, most likely. But number 43, I have Ty Chandler, who I think will have a decent floor value when Aaron Jones is healthy, but Aaron Jones is definitely going to miss some time at his age. That feels like a guarantee. It's happened almost every season for Aaron Jones. So when Chandler is the starter, I think we have top 20 potential with a ton of volume lined up for him. If he can find the end zone, he'll be a very good flex play next season. So hoping for the best with Chandler, but moving forward, it's not looking that good. Charbonnet has been moving down 5 spots lower than where I previously ranked him, now here at 44. And there's been some good hype on Kenneth Walker. I think Charbonnet's role is in question. He might not even see that many targets this season, and that means you're not dying to draft him anymore. He's purely a contingent upside play if Walker goes down. And the same applies for Tyler Allgeier. Reports are they will be using him a decent amount on a week-to-week basis, but behind Bijan, how much is that really going to happen? I still think he's just a contingent upside play, but one of the best handcuffs for sure. It's a good O-line, and we've seen him play well in the past. If Bijan does get hurt, Allgeier would be a top 15 running back instantly, and that's the same I view with Charbonnet. They're both in the mix as some of the better handcuffs you can find. And then here I have Trey Benson moving down 9 spots. I was a lot higher on him a month ago, and now I'm starting to get worried. He didn't look too good in the preseason, not excellent vision, but he's still really talented. I don't worry about Michael Carter too much, but there is a world where if James Conner does get hurt, Benson is not a workhorse running back. He might lose out on third down usage to Michael Carter. So not as safe of a bet anymore. I think his fallen ADP recently is warranted. Number 47, though, I got Nick Chubb here, and there's a world where he is a top 20 running back when he gets healthy, but there's also a world where he is a non-factor and never looks like the same player. I still think Jerome Ford is going to be heavily involved when Chubb does get healthy, and that's why I'm not dying to draft him. But he does have some elite upside potential in December. He's worth taking a swing on randomly when he falls to you in the draft, but I'm not dying to draft Nick Chubb. I've been a believer, one of my favorite players since he entered the league. Just a little bit worried about that knee injury really ruining the remainder of his career. This could be the last season we see him on the field. If he doesn't get back to full strength, we might never see Chubb look the same again. At number 48, some also league-winning upside with Jaylen Wright of the Miami Dolphins. He's the RB3, however. He has looked good in the preseason, but you need at least one of Mostert or Achane to get hurt. That's not the worst bet in the world, but unless both get hurt, you're never going to see top 20 production from Jaylen Wright. I worry that he won't see a lot of goal line touches or touches at all if Mostert and Achane stay healthy. There is a long, winding path for him to get on the field, and even if it happens, it might only be like 1 or 2 games of flex value. So a little worried about him, but if those 2 guys do go down, he would be a top 10 running back immediately, maybe even top 5. 49, I got Jordan Mason, who looks like the handcuff you want behind McCaffrey in San Francisco, but I still hold out a little bit of hope with Isaac Guerendo and Elijah Mitchell, but both of them have been hurt, dealing with hamstring injuries. Right now, Mason is clearly the healthiest running back in San Francisco's backfield by far and away. Number 50, though, I got Braylon Allen, and you're hoping that he offers some value behind Breece Hall. I wouldn't bet on Breece Hall getting hurt, though, but Braylon Allen would probably see like top 15 upside if Breece did go down. He might not be in a workhorse type of setting, though. If that happens, there has been a little bit more usage in the preseason for the other backups behind him. Lastly, I'll mention these next 20 players just for the sake of it. But at 51, I got Ray Davis. I don't really want to bet on a rookie, but he might have some role in the passing game and on the goal line in Buffalo. It's not a bad offense to bet on. At 52, I got Tyrone Tracy, who looks like the clear guy behind Devin Singletary, and his injury is not that big of a deal. It's just a low ankle sprain, and he'll be fine. At 52, he's a decent handcuff to bet on later on. Just from a floor standpoint, though, not much upside in the Giants offense. At 53, I got Antonio Gibson, and kind of similar situation. Like, how much do you want to bet on the Patriots backup? I would rather not. 54, I got Bucky Irving as a rookie with much more passing game usage than anything else. Hard to really envision him being like a league winner. You need Rachaad White to go down, and even then, he'll probably be in a timeshare, so no thanks there. Jaleel McLaughlin and Estime, I am interested to bet on. Like, one of these guys could be very valuable. Jaleel offers some PPR value, and he has some explosiveness to his game. Estime is a big-ass dude, and he will have a lot of goal line looks this season. There's a world where he scores more touchdowns than Javonte Williams. I think I'd rather bet on Estime, but I think McLaughlin has more of a path to playing time. 57 and 58, I got Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson, and I wish there was just one of these backups to bet on. They'd be a lot more valuable with DeAndre Swift being a little injury prone, but I think I do prefer Khalil Herbert. I have seen more work from him in the preseason, and Roschon, his best skill set is as a pass protector, not as a runner. So I think if Swift were to go down, we'd see a timeshare between these two, and I'd prefer Khalil straight up over Roschon. But 59, I still think CEH is the number 2 running back in the Chiefs offense to bet on. That's not saying much. CEH is not that valuable, but I'm not too worried about Deneric Prince or the other guy Steele that much anymore. Number 60, I got Tank Bigsby, who's Probably going to see a bit more work than last year, but he was terrible last season, so I still only really believe in Travis Etienne. I'm not that excited about Bigsby at all. Number 61, I got Dameon Pierce, who has looked a little bit better this season. Last year he was shit though, and I still think Mixon is the guy you want by far and away in Houston. 62 and 63, I got Madison and Laube. Madison appears to be the RB2 behind Zamir, but I think Laube could overtake him before the year is over, and Laube is a pass-catching specialist. I think he has the PPR upside you are probably looking for the most. But at 64 and 65, I got Marshawn Lloyd and A.J. Dillon. Lloyd is hurt. It looks like Dillon is currently the backup you would want, but Dillon is very unappealing. Dillon looked like shit last year, and Lloyd has the upside I would be chasing if Jacobs goes down, but at the moment, I'm not really expecting that to happen. I'd rather not draft either of these Packers handcuffs. At 66, I have Jarrett Patterson of the Chargers, who's seen a lot of touches in the preseason. I think he might be the RB3 to target above of Kamani Vidal, but even that is very unvaluable until Dobbins gets hurt. You're not going to see much upside from Jarrett Patterson. But number 67, I still have some hope with Elijah Mitchell. I think once he gets healthy, he could overtake Jordan Mason. That's not out of the question. Number 68, I have Kendry Miller, but Jamal Williams might actually be more valuable. Kendry is definitely more talented, though, so I'm not dying to draft Jamal at all. But number 69, 70, I got Kenny Gainwell, Will Shipley. It looks like the two are going to be vying for that RB2 role, and Gainwell has seen some decent work in the preseason. I think I prefer Gainwell over Shipley. 71, I'm still holding out some hope on Isaac Guerendo. He's very explosive, but hasn't had a lot of reps this training camp. Not ideal. And then 72, 73, the last guys I'll mention is Isaiah Spiller and Kamani Vidal. You never know what's going to happen in this Chargers backfield. If Gus and Dobbins get hurt, you wouldn't be shocked. And there is a world where Spiller and Vidal see a lot of work behind a good offensive line in that Chargers backfield. So I think anyone behind A.J. Dillon is pretty much irrelevant this season, but I do want to mention them just for the sake of getting all those names out there, letting you know where I stand at that position. It does kind of matter for the sake of Dynasty. But that's it for this video. These are a reminder of the top 50. I think once you hit Tyler Allgeier at running back 45, you're not going to get very much value at all from any of these running backs, in all honesty. That's my opinion. I think the guys that you really want to target would be limited to the top 45 next season. But there are going to be some guys with a role. We'll see what happens. But the players I'm more excited about would be Devon Achane, Josh Jacobs, as well as Kenneth Walker, David Montgomery, James Conner, Najee Harris, Raheem Mostert, as well as Jonathan Brooks a little bit, and Chase Brown definitely moves up the rankings along with Rico Dowdle and J.K. Dobbins. Some players moving down would include Jahmyr Gibbs, just barely, along with Rhamondre and Aaron Jones, Zach Moss for sure, and guys like Brian Robinson, Gus Edwards, and Devin Singletary, I'm all a little bit lower on. And Zeke is a player I'm not as excited about. Same with Zach Charbonnet and Trey Benson. They've all moved down at least 5 spots in my ranks. Those last 3 do scare me a little bit more. So that's it for this video. Here are all the tiered breakdowns on the screen. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. I'm happy to answer them. And look out for my wide receiver rankings update tomorrow. That'll be a lot of fun. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and ring the notification bell so that you don't miss out. My name is Adam Riancho, and thank you for watching Nice and Blunt.